Well, g'day folks, it's Matt Hayson here, tracking everything going down in and around the Sydney property market this week. Now, it's been a very eventful 7 days, so let's get into it. Starting with the RBA, as expected, did leave the cash rate on hold at 4.1% this week. Now, its trim mean inflation, which is the core tool that the RBA do look at, cooled down to 2.7% through February. Now, this is well within the RBA's target band of 2 to 3%, so why no rate cut? Well, we do have Trump's tariff decisions weighing fairly heavily on markets. The RBA also wants to see the quarterly inflation data. Now, that's not released until April 30, so that's an important date to watch there. And the Australian jobs market remains fairly resilient, increasing salaries, demand for labour. That does add some pressure on inflation. Now, very interestingly, the RBA Governor, Michelle Bullock, said the board didn't even contemplate a rate cut this month. Now, this firm dialogue has spooked markets who were formerly predicting there would be a 77% chance of a rate cut when they do meet in May. Now, that's been cut down to 67%. From a property perspective and market perspective, I can say that we desperately need another rate cut to improve market confidence and overall buyer sentiment. Also this week, in the wild and wonderful world of data, we have some very interesting and, in my view, very conflicting information. Now, one of the sharpest minds and financial commentators is Christopher Joy, writing in the AFR under the headline, "Housing Market Recovery Gathers Steam." The essence of this article suggested that the February rate cut had bolstered buyer borrowing power and, in turn, also confidence. He noted that our two largest markets, being Sydney and Melbourne, had seen price increases of 0.7% and 0.9% respectively since mid-February. This sentiment was also supported in other affiliate articles, noting that home prices have climbed to record highs. Now, these are really big headlines and would suggest that Sydney and other cities around the country are in a full-blown housing recovery. However, looking closely at that referred CoreLogic data, it points towards very marginal and, in our view, almost undetectable house price growth, 0.3% in Sydney for February and 0.4% for the quarter. Now, this data doesn't really seem to match those headlines or the bullish commentary. Then we look at the live results and what's happening in and around the auction market. Now, last week's results delivered this headline: "Stalling housing market awaits a second rate cut." Now, it's very contradictory to those aforementioned articles. Last week, Sydney posted the weakest auction clearance rate so far for 2025. It came through at just 47.2%, and big volumes as well, 1,535 properties going under the hammer in Sydney, and it was bang on. 25% of those 1,535 properties actually selling under the hammer. Also, the CoreLogic Daily Price Index has stalled, which conflicts again with those headlines and the supporting of a buoyant housing recovery. So I'll say it again, I'm going to get sick of saying it, the property market absolutely needs another rate cut to support buyer confidence, and probably two before we see sustainable house price growth. So now we enter a most intriguing period for the property market. It's clear in our view, though, the market does need those further rate cuts in order to really bolster and make an improvement in overall buyer sentiment. But in just 2 Saturdays' time, we obviously hit Easter Saturday, and then we roll into the Anzac Day long weekend. And now, finally, the federal election has been called on May 3. So that's 3 consecutive Saturdays of disruption for the property cycle. And I can't recall a period like that for a very long time. We'll see a backup of properties likely to come to market around that May 3rd, but it's going to be a very interesting period for buyers and sellers to navigate through, and what unfolds really is anyone's guess. Now, in our view, though, it is business as usual, and life's not going to really change that much, but we will be tracking the reactions very closely. We still firmly believe that buying conditions right now are about as good as they get in the Sydney property market, and we're seeing very smart money is definitely coming into play when this value is now on offer. So that is what's going down in and around this week, and the takeaway being that you have to be paying attention to this very clear value that is on offer and check out the amazing array of properties which are also available. So our entire team looks forward to seeing you out and about this weekend. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next week.